You assume buying a used Suzuki is safe? Bulletproof Japanese engineering, right? Dead wrong. That assumption could bankrupt you. Suzuki builds generational machines that run forever, but on the exact same factory floor, they assemble disasters that will drain your wallet. Today, we expose all 14. We are revealing 6 catastrophic avoids, including a stunning muscle cruiser, hiding a fatal transmission flaw, and 8 must-buy legends, like a Street Fighter secretly packing an indestructible superbike engine. No time to waste. Let's go! We start with the disasters. Number 6, Suzuki TL1000S, 1997 to 2001. Suzuki built the TL1000S specifically to take on Ducati in the V-twin sport bike segment. They put together a genuinely spectacular 996cc liquid-cooled 90-degree V-twin with strong mid-range punch. Then they torpedoed the entire project with one chassis decision that went badly wrong. To keep the wheelbase tight, Suzuki ditched a conventional rear shock and installed a Formula One-style rotary rear damper. The concept was engineering forward. The execution was a disaster. The damper was mounted directly beside the rear exhaust header. Within 20 minutes of hard riding, heat from the pipe thinned the dampening oil to the consistency of water. With no meaningful damping left, the rear end turned into a pogo stick, and the front wheel started the kind of high-speed oscillations that send riders directly into the scenery. Suzuki issued a global recall to bolt a steering damper to the forks as a band-aid, which tells you everything about how seriously they took the problem. If that were the only issue, it would be manageable with careful maintenance. It is not the only issue. The violent forces generated by the failed damper frequently crack the aluminum frame, mounting tabs clean off the chassis. A bike that is physically destroying its own structure is not a used market bargain, regardless of price. Used examples run between $2,500 and $4,000, and the animation should point directly at that rotary damper assembly on the right side of the rear subframe. Coming up, an enormous muscle cruiser that looks incredibly tempting on the showroom floor, but hiding deep inside the engine cases is a devastating flaw that will cost more than the bike itself to fix. Number 5, Suzuki Boulevard M109R, 2006 to 2007 early models. The M109R is a legitimate monster. 1,783 cc's of liquid-cooled 54-degree V-twin. The pistons are the size of coffee mugs. It generates 118 pound-feet of torque, and it looks like something a comic book villain would ride to work. On a highway, it is extraordinarily impressive. In a dealership, it is tempting. In your garage, after the transmission fails, it is an expensive paperweight. The early 2006 and 2007 production runs had a transmission engineering flaw that Suzuki's team failed to catch before launch. The engagement dogs on second gear were not undercut to the correct specification for the torque output of this engine. Under hard acceleration out of first gear, the dogs slip. The transmission drops out of second gear with a noise that experienced riders describe as deeply unpleasant. Do that a few times and the second gear shift fork bends permanently. Second gear becomes completely unusable. The repair requires pulling the engine from the frame, splitting the crankcases, and rebuilding the entire transmission. The labor bill on this job will comfortably exceed the purchase price of the bike you bought. Used examples from these production years sit between $4,500 and $6,500. The animation should focus on the second gear shift fork inside the bottom end crankcase. Buy a later M109R from 2008 onward if you want the torque without the transmission drama. Next, we look at a budget beginner bike that promises cheap commuting, but its electrical system is hiding a secret that turns a little bit of rain into an absolute nightmare. Number 4, Suzuki GW250 Inazuma, 2014 to 2017. Suzuki built the GW250 to compete in the entry-level commuter market against the Kawasaki Ninja 300. They hit their target cost by cutting corners on every component that buyers are unlikely to notice until after the purchase. 6 months of ownership later, riders notice everything. The numbers tell the first part of the story: 248 cc's of liquid-cooled parallel twin producing 24 horsepower, 403 pounds wet, That power-to-weight ratio makes highway merges a genuinely tense experience rather than a casual maneuver. The second part of the story is the build quality, which is where the real problems live. The exhaust system is fabricated from low-grade steel that rusts through from road contamination at a rate that will astonish you. The header welds crack regularly, creating exhaust leaks that the bike announces loudly to everyone within a 100-yard radius. The electrical system is worse. The main wiring harness connector behind the front fairing has no meaningful weatherproofing. Ride through rain or wash the bike, and water reaches the connector pins. They corrode. The bike begins misfiring, stalling at traffic lights, or refusing to start on days when you need it most. This is a commuter bike with an electrical system that cannot handle commuter conditions. Used prices run between $1,800 and $2,800, and the animation should highlight the exhaust header collector well directly beneath the front of the oil pan. The honest verdict: save another $500 and buy something better. If this breakdown is already saving you from an expensive mistake, hit that like button. Up next, a legendary sport bike with a terrifying ticking time bomb inside the engine. Ignore a simple warning rattle, and you will instantly turn this beloved track weapon into a pile of scrap metal. Number 3. Suzuki GSX-R 600K 1 through K3, 2001 to 2003. The K-Series Gixxers earned their reputation honestly. They were serious machines that helped a generation of riders discover what a well-sorted sport bike felt like. The 2001 through 2003 GSX-R 600 is currently in a used market window where that strong reputation collides with a specific mechanical weakness and years of hard use by previous owners. The engine screams to 14,500 revolutions per minute. To make that happen, Suzuki built a lightweight, high-revving 599cc inline-4 with a valve train calibrated tightly at the factory. The automatic cam chain tensioner backing mechanism uses a spring that loses tension over time and under sustained hard use. When the spring weakens, the timing chain develops slack. The slack causes the chain to slap against the internal guides on cold starts, producing a loud rattle that is the engine telling you something needs attention. Owners who ignore that rattle are buying themselves a catastrophic engine failure. A loose timing chain eventually skips a tooth on the cam sprockets. Internal timing drops instantly. Intake valves meet rising pistons at high RPM. The result is a destroyed cylinder head and a very unhappy bottom end. Used prices sit between $3,000 and $4,500, and the animation should point at the automatic cam chain tensioner on the rear right side of the cylinder block. Any K-Series Gixxer without documented maintenance history and a confirmed tensioner inspection is a risk you do not need to take. You are about to see a wildly popular cruiser with a genuinely bulletproof engine. So why is it on the avoid list? Because Suzuki engineers designed a fuel system so frustrating, it will make your mechanic want to quit the industry. Number 2. Suzuki Intruder 800 and Boulevard S50, 1992 to 2009. The 805cc liquid-cooled 45-degree V-twin inside this bike is a solid, dependable unit with good low-end character and genuine high-mileage capability. That engine deserves better than what Suzuki wrapped around it. The fuel delivery system on the Intruder 800 and Boulevard S50 is one of the most maintenance-hostile carburetor layouts in cruiser history, and that is a competitive field. Instead of mounting both carburetors together in the center of the V, where a mechanic can access them in a reasonable amount of time, Suzuki split them. The front cylinder gets a carburetor on the side. The rear carburetor is buried deep inside the rear subframe triangle under the gas tank, connected to its partner via a complex web of throttle cables and synchronization hardware. Removing the rear carburetor for a basic cleaning requires stripping the rear suspension, dropping the battery box, and approximately 3 hours of wrestling with rubber boots that have no interest in cooperating. Synchronizing both carburetors after reassembly requires specialized vacuum gauges and patience that most human beings do not possess in sufficient quantities. If synchronization drifts even slightly, one cylinder runs rich, the other runs lean, and the bike pops and stutters at every throttle input. Used prices run between $2,000 and $3,500. The animation should focus on the rear carburetor throttle cable linkage wedged inside the rear frame triangle. The engine is genuinely fine. The packaging around it is the problem. Our number one avoid is a premium adventure bike designed to conquer the globe. But one tiny, poorly placed electronic sensor can completely strand you in the middle of nowhere if you simply hit a rainstorm. Number 1. Suzuki V-Strom 1050, 2020 to 2022 early production. The V-Strom line built its reputation on mechanical simplicity and cross-continent dependability. When Suzuki updated the platform in 2020 with the 1050, they added a sophisticated electronic rider aid suite built around a 6-axis inertial measurement unit. The 1037cc liquid-cooled 90-degree V-twin engine itself is well-sorted. The electronics controlling it are where the early production models created problems. The IMU sensor is mounted directly under the rider's seat. The sealing on the under-seat plastic panels in the early production run was insufficient to keep water out of the sensor bay. When moisture reached the electrical connector, the IMU registered a sensor fault and assumed the worst. The ECU responded by limiting throttle plate opening to around 10%, which on a highway produces approximately 15 miles per hour maximum speed. If this failure occurs on a remote trail, you are stranded. The IMU lock cannot be bypassed. You are simply done riding until the sensor dries out or gets replaced. Used prices for these early examples run between $7,500 and $9,500. The animation should point at the IMU control sensor under the main seat cushion assembly. Later production and updated variants address the sealing issue. So if you want the 1050, look for confirmed post-recall examples with updated under-seat weatherproofing. Those 6 will bankrupt you, but we are just getting started. Coming up in our must-buy list, a bike so fundamentally perfect, the motorcycle community considers it the ultimate answer to almost every question. Number 8. Suzuki SV650, 1999 to present. There is a running joke in the motorcycle community. No matter what the question is, the SV650 is usually the answer. It is not a joke so much as an accurate observation that has held up for over 25 years. Whether you are a new rider looking for your first real motorcycle or an experienced club racer hunting a predictable track tool, the SV delivers. The heart of the bike is a 645cc liquid-cooled 90-degree V-twin. The 90-degree angle eliminates primary vibration almost completely. The engine revs smoothly to 10,000 RPM, producing around 75 horsepower with a torque curve that stays accessible across the entire rev range. The internal oiling system uses generously sized galleries that keep the bottom-end bearings properly lubricated even under sustained hard use. Second and third generation models brought dual throttle valve fuel injection and a rigid aluminum truss frame that improved handling without adding weight. One known quirk on first-generation carbureted models: the front tire throws water into the front spark plug cap in heavy rain, grounding the spark and dropping the front cylinder until things dry out. Simple fix worth knowing. Beyond that, the engine regularly crosses 100,000 miles on basic oil changes and spark plug swaps. Used prices range from $2,000 to $5,500 depending on generation. The animation should highlight the 90-degree cylinder head oil gallery on the front-facing cylinder block. Next, we reveal a machine so stubbornly old school that Suzuki hasn't bothered to update its basic layout in decades. And that is exactly why you need to put it in your garage immediately. Number 7. Suzuki DR650, 1996 to present. The DR650 still uses a carburetor. It has no digital electronics, no traction control, no fuel pump, and no intentions of modernizing. It has been running the same basic layout for decades, and that stubborn refusal to complicate itself is precisely what makes it valuable to a specific category of rider. The 644cc air and oil cooled single runs on the Suzuki Advanced Cooling System. SAX uses a high-volume oil pump to spray a continuous stream of engine oil onto the underside of the piston crown and around the combustion chamber, managing engine temperatures without a water radiator, coolant hoses, or a water pump. There is nothing on the engine to crack against a rock, nothing to fail in extreme cold, and nothing requiring specialist diagnostics. Engine clearances are intentionally loose, allowing the motor to run on lower octane and less than perfect fuel in regions where premium petrol is not a realistic option. Early pre-2003 models have a paper-based gasket at the cylinder block mating surface that will eventually weep oil. Replacing it with the updated metal gasket is a straightforward permanent fix. Used prices run between $2,500 and $5,000. The animation should point at the Sachs oil jet nozzles inside the upper crankcase. Up next, the bike that accidentally triggered a global speed limiting agreement. But we aren't recommending it for its speed. We are recommending it because its engine block is practically indestructible. Number 6, Suzuki GSX 1300R Hayabusa, 1999 to present. When the first generation Hayabusa launched in 1999, it recorded a production top speed above 194 miles per hour and immediately triggered a voluntary speed limiting agreement among major manufacturers. The engine that produced those numbers was, somewhat inadvertently, one of the strongest production engine blocks ever built. The Hayabusa uses a massively thick aluminum cylinder block lined with Suzuki's composite electrochemical material coating, a silicon carbide nickel surface that manages heat dissipation and reduces cylinder bore wear over time. The first generation ran 1,299 cc's. The second and third generations stepped up to 1,340 cc's. The crankshaft is a large forged steel piece, and the connecting rod dimensions reflect heavy-duty design rather than pure weight savings. The performance modification community built a track record around this engine block, specifically because the internal dimensions and metallurgy tolerate substantial power additions on the original components. A stock Hayabusa is a capable long-distance machine that will cover serious mileage without drama. First-generation models had a lightweight aluminum rear subframe that could crack under heavy passenger and luggage combinations. Suzuki updated it to steel in 2001. Used prices span $4,500 to $14,000, depending on generation and condition. The animation should focus on the SCEM cylinder bore liner inside the main aluminum block. Subscribe to the channel right now so you never miss a breakdown like this one. Coming up, the ultimate budget adventure bike. While premium brand owners are busy paying expensive repair bills, owners of this unpretentious machine are quietly rolling past 150,000 miles. Number 5, Suzuki V-Strom 650, 2004 to present. BMW and KTM get the adventure touring headlines. The V-Strom 650 gets the miles. Owners call it the V-Strom without apology, and they cover enormous distances on machines that cost a fraction of the premium alternatives and require substantially less maintenance attention. Suzuki took the 645cc V-twin from the SV650, retuned it for a wider spread of low-end torque, and installed it in a spacious aluminum twin-spar frame with a large front fairing. Highway stability is solid. Dirt fire roads are manageable. The maintenance schedule is genuinely straightforward. Oil changes, valve clearance checks every 15,000 miles, and not much else. Owner forums regularly document examples with 150,000 miles on the original clutch pack. That is not universal, but it is common enough to be meaningful. Early first-generation models had stator coils that could run hot and ground out at high mileage, leading to charging problems and eventually a dead battery. An updated OEM stator resolves it permanently. Used prices range from $3,000 to $6,500. The animation should highlight the dual throttle valve fuel injection, throttle body positioned in the central frame spar valley. Next is a naked muscle bike that asks absolutely nothing from you, but delivers so much brutal low-end torque that it will utterly destroy rear tires on command. Number 4, Suzuki Bandit, 1,200 and 1,250, 1996 to 2016. The Bandit series is the kind of motorcycle that exists outside the trend cycle. No traction control, no riding modes, no connectivity. A large displacement inline-4 engine in a naked chassis, pulling hard from idle and asking nothing from the rider except fuel and basic maintenance. The early Bandit 1200 used the GSXR 1100 oil-cooled engine block, featuring large internal oil galleries and a front-mounted oil cooler to manage top-end temperatures. When Suzuki updated the platform in 2007 with the 1250, they built a dedicated liquid-cooled, fuel-injected unit, producing maximum torque at 3,700 RPM, 1,157 cc's for the earlier oil-cooled version, 1,255 cc's for the later liquid-cooled generation. Both pull with force that makes high-speed highway passing effortless. The torque output means these bikes consume rear tires and drive chains at a meaningful rate if ridden hard. Inspect the chain adjusters for maximum extension before buying any used example. It tells you how the previous owner rode. Used prices sit between $2,500 and $5,000. The animation should point at the high-capacity engine oil cooler mounted beneath the steering head tube. Up next, the ultimate dual sport survivor. You can literally drop this bike on a bed of jagged rocks, pick it up, and it will still start on the first try. Number 3. Suzuki DR-Z400 2000 to present. The DR-Z400 has been in production since 2000 for a straightforward reason. Suzuki got it right the first time and saw no compelling reason to change it. Whether you pick the dual sports model or the Supermoto SM version with its flat track style setup, you are buying a machine with a well-documented track record of taking punishment without complaint. 398 cc's of liquid-cooled single-cylinder with dual overhead cams and a forged aluminum piston. The engine produces approximately 39 horsepower in a chassis that weighs just over 300 pounds. The outer engine cases use magnesium alloy reinforcement to resist impact punctures from rocks and trail debris. The carburetor is simple and well understood, and replacement parts are available at dealerships globally. When you drop this bike on a rocky trail, you pick it up, straighten the bars, and it starts again. That is the entire value proposition, and it holds up consistently. Early 2000 through 2002 models had a weak spring in the automatic cam chain tensioner mechanism. Upgrading to a manual tensioner is a cheap permanent fix that removes the issue entirely. Used prices run between $3,500 and $6,000. The animation should focus on the magnesium outer clutch cover case on the lower right side of the engine block. Drop a comment below telling us which Suzuki is currently in your garage or on your short list. We read every single one. Coming up, the sport bike. Every other manufacturer was too afraid to keep building. Suzuki's stubbornness paid off, leaving us with a bike that perfectly hits the sweet spot between a screaming 600 and a heavy 1000. Number 2, Suzuki GSXR 750K 2006 to present. Every other major manufacturer walked away from the 750cc sport bike class. They decided riders should choose between high-strung 600s and heavy 1000s. Suzuki kept building the GSXR 750, and the result is a bike that occupies a genuinely useful performance window that nothing else currently covers. The 750 uses the same compact, lightweight chassis as the GSXR 600, so corner entry feels sharp and responsive. The engine is stroked to 750 ccs, delivering a broad, mid-range torque curve that lets you drive hard out of corners without constant gearbox work. The engine features titanium valves and a high-volume oiling circuit. It handles both track days and highway use without complaint. One known issue on 2006 through 2009 models, the factory regulator and rectifier assembly was mounted directly behind the radiator. The heat caused premature failures. Suzuki issued a safety recall to relocate the unit to the side frame rail for adequate airflow. Confirm this recall has been completed on any used example from that production window. From the 2011 model year onward, Suzuki fitted Brembo monoblock radial brake calipers at the front. The animation for post-2011 examples should point at those Brembo monoblocks mounted on the lower front fork leg castings. Earlier K6 through L0 models used conventional two-piece 𝐏𝐄𝐑 radial calipers, which are capable but a different component entirely. Used prices span $5,000 to $10,500 depending on year and condition. And finally, our #1 must-buy. It is an incredibly rare machine wrapped in bodywork so polarizing that buyers ran away. But under that shell hides the most durable, insanely powerful engine in Suzuki's entire arsenal. #1. Suzuki B-King, 2007 to 2012. The B-King launched with styling that divided opinion sharply and sold in modest numbers. Suzuki discontinued it after a short run. The people who bought one and the people who understood what was under the bodywork watched the market undervalue it for years. That situation has not fully corrected itself yet, which is why it sits at #1. Under the polarizing plastic cladding sits the second-generation 1,340cc Hayabusa engine. The same overbuilt block with the SEM-line cylinders, the forged crankshaft, and the heavy-duty connecting rods. In the B-King configuration, it produces 181 horsepower and 108 pound-feet of torque. Because you sit completely upright, the power delivery is manageable, and the riding position is genuinely comfortable for long distances. The engine goes into a rigid aluminum twin-spar frame that handles the output without drama. The main practical note for buyers: the factory dual undertail exhaust mufflers add meaningful weight high on the subframe. Most owners replace them with lightweight aftermarket slip-ons as one of the first modifications. Used prices currently run between $6,500 and $9,000, and the animation should span the aluminum twin-spar frame backbone from the steering head down to the swing arm pivot. This is a rare machine with the most durable engine Suzuki produces in a configuration that is becoming harder to find as the production run ages. 14 Suzukis, 6 that will drain your finances through their specific mechanical failures. 8 that represent strong engineering choices at fair used prices. The brand builds across a wide range, and knowing which is which before you hand over a deposit is the entire point of this exercise. There's another video coming up on your left. It is about motorcycles that cost peanuts. Click on it and I'll see you there.